In his 42nd year of life, the poet and author Ross Gay decided to start focusing on things that delight him. And so every day, for a year, he made a quick note and wrote a mini essay on something that made him really happy, and he compiled them in this book called The Book of Delights. This is entry number 23, and it's called Sharing a Bag. I adore it when I see two people. Today, it was, from the looks of it, a mother and child on Canal Street in Chinatown, sharing the burden of a shopping bag or sack of laundry by each gripping one of the handles. It at first seems to encourage a kind of staggering, as the uninitiated or the impatient will try to walk at their own pace, the bag twisting this way and that, whacking your shins or skidding along the ground between the two of you. But as we mostly do, feeling the sack between us, which has become a kind of tether between us, we modulate our pace, even our sway and saunter. The good and soul rhythms we might swear by and live by, to the other one on the other side of the sack. I suppose part of why I so adore the sack sharing is because most often this is a burden one or the other could manage just fine by themselves, which is what makes it different from dragging Granny's armoire up 2 flights of steps or wrestling free a truck stuck hip deep in the snow. Yes, it's the lack of necessity of this act that is perhaps exactly why it delights me so much. Everything that needs doing, getting the groceries or the laundry home, would get done just fine without this meager collaboration. But the only thing that needs doing without it, our collaboration, would not. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Las Vegas. It's so wonderful to be here together, both in person and virtually. My name is Nina, your worship associate today, and I use she, her pronouns. Our worship leader is Elaine, and she uses she, her pronouns too. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever you believe about life's journey, you are welcome here, and we are happy that you're here. We broadcast a video feed for our virtual attendees, so if you wish not to be recorded, please sit in the back or sides of the sanctuary. Today, during Of Our Hearts, we will read the name of anyone written in the book or in the chat, and we'll also bring the book up here in case, as you go through our ritual, you would like to include somebody at that time. When we come together, we get to practice creating inclusive, worshipful spaces. For those in the sanctuary, we encourage you to wear a name tag that includes your pronouns, and if you're in our virtual space, please edit your name to include your pronouns. Please take a moment to make sure that your cell phones are silent and refrain from using the chat on Zoom. And also, please, as always, move in ways that your body needs. It's all right if you need to wiggle, stand up, sleep, fidget, color, play with Legos, grab a pillow or a blanket. All bodies are welcome here. Welcome to our service. Before we ring the bell, please take a moment to greet everybody here today. We make this space sacred by being in it and being together. You can say good morning, hello, wave, or just acknowledge each other's presence. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Las Vegas is situated on the traditional homelands of the Nuuvi Southern Paiute people. We are grateful for the land itself, for those who have stewarded it for generations, and for the opportunity to worship, learn, grow, and be in community with this land and her people. We encourage everyone present here to engage in the continued learning about the indigenous people who work and live on this land since time immemorial, including the Las Vegas Paiute tribe and the Moapa Band of Paiutes, and about the historical and present realities of colonialism. It's important to recognize and appreciate the use of the sacred Southern Paiute land as part of our mission to be a welcoming and inclusive space for worship, spiritual enrichment, and exploration within the community. Please take a moment of silence with me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And now for our chalice lighting, Nora.
When we gather together, we light the chalice, a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. The chalice reminds us that we are connected to a much larger religious tradition that stretches out of the past, reaches around the world, and leans into our shared future. And join with me. We light the chalice as a reminder that together we are a beacon in the desert. May its light lead the way to love, acceptance, and justice as we strive for personal and societal transformation.
These are the words of the Reverend Gretchen Haley. For this one moment, know only that you are loved, that you are safe and whole and loved. Know that you belong here, here among us, here upon this earth, in your body, however tired or broken your heart may be. Whatever fear, disappointment, anger you carry, for this hour, know you are not alone. Feel the presence of others surrounding you, breathing beside you and with you, discovering together the way our voices rise and fall together, in harmony, in hope. Claim here a resilient freedom, the choice for love, for light, to live with joy and gratitude and praise as a form of resistance. Already we are organizing. Come, let us worship together. And now if you'd like to stand in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, What Wondrous Love Is This? It is number 18 in the gray hymnal.
Am I on? Are we on? We're good? Oh, awesome. I hear it.
So, good morning, everyone. Today's story comes to us from Senegal. And so you're going to have to excuse me as I attempt to pronounce some words that are quite foreign to my own tongue. So, this is the story of Aniko. Aniko was a happy child who grew in this village full of wonderful community. When all of a sudden, much as has happened here, a great sickness came through the village, and it took the life of her mother, father, sisters, brothers, and everyone else in the village except Aniko. Aniko knew that she could not stay in her village alone, and so she set out to find other family. She wandered and wandered until she came to the edge of a great forest. This forest had many stories of those who had entered and never returned. But Aniko had also heard the stories of a village far on the other side of the forest, with people much like those of her own, welcoming and accepting of anyone who came. So she took a breath, said a small prayer, and entered into the forest. And she walked through long dangling vines and thick, thick branches until her feet became tired. But she continued on, and thankfully that day, she managed to reach the other side of the forest, and there in the distance, she saw the village. She walked towards that village, and she saw the people as they began to come out to greet her. But wait, these people looked unlike anything she had ever seen before, for they had long necks with heads up on top. And they looked at her, and they also were surprised, for they had never seen anything like her before, for she looked much like us, with a short neck and a short head, small head on top. And they stared at each other for a little while, but the villagers said, "Why are you here? Where have you come from?" And she began to tell them the story. And there was something in her heart that deeply touched the long neck people. And they said, "Come, come, we will take you in. Please stay here in our village with us." And so she was there, and she was wonderful, and she was accepted, and she was loved, and she was a beautiful child, and she was caring and respectful and got along well with everyone and helped everyone out, and they had an amazing time. And one of the gifts that Aniko brought with her was the gift of song. And every morning she would wake up and wander from one end of the village to the other, and she would sing this song. Ya senalin, ya senalin yen, ye wonai mai de ma, te ya sinai les yitam, ye wujo tena, ya senalin yen. Which means, I am coming to wake you up. A new day has begun. I am coming to wake you also, people. And the people of the village had never heard music before. And this was a beautiful, amazing, wonderful gift that she had brought them. And pretty soon, no one in the village would wake in the morning. They would wait in their beds, listening until she walked by. Ya senalin, yen. And then they would arise and start their day. But of course, as we find in many, many communities, there was an individual who was cold-hearted and small-minded. And he did not trust this short-necked Aniko. Not one bit. And one day he came to her and he said, you will bring trouble to this village. You are different. You are not like us. You should not be here. And of course, small Aniko felt that in her heart. She felt that she was unwanted. She became afraid and she ran. She ran back into the forest. But of course, this part of the year, the rains were heavy, the leaves had grown bigger, the tangles were longer, and soon she was lost. Now the villagers the next morning lay in their beds, waiting for her song, and it did not come. And soon they began to wonder, where is Aniko? What happened to Aniko? And so they gathered together. And one of the elders says, I have a feeling I know what happened. And so they went to the cold-hearted, small-minded man of the village, and they said, where is Aniko? What has happened? And he said, almost with pride, I have gotten rid of the problem. And they said, what have you done? And he said, she was different. She was not like us. She did not deserve to be here. And they said, no, she is beautiful, unique, and part of this community. We must go find her. And so they went out and they saw that the forest was large and thick and tangled, and that if they entered, they would be lost as well. And so they stood on the edge. And for the first time, they decided that not only had they listened to music, but they would try to sing. And so they began. Aniko, Aniko. And all the villagers began to join in. Can I hear all the villagers? Aniko, Aniko, Aniko. And they sang, Aniko, niwa, ni sewani. Aniko, niwa, Nisewani. And they began to sing and sing and sing. And there in the forest, she heard their voice. And slowly but surely, she found her way back to her community, to her village, where she was able to celebrate her return. And the elders of the village, they came and they reminded everyone that it is not so much what we look like, right? Our differences in length of neck, in our shape, in our size. But really, it is our similarities in our hearts that bring us together. Thank you.
Before we begin of our hearts, I invite Joanne up to tell us a bit about pastoral care.
Good morning. My name's Joanne Leovy. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm so pleased to be able to introduce you to the Pastoral Care Ministry Team. The Pastoral Care Ministry Team is dedicated to securing the connections among community members here and helping us to support one another. Acceptance, embrace, and support of each other are deep UU values, and for many are a main reason for our involvement here. We are enriched by bonding in joy and in grief. As we learn our way as a lay-led congregation, I believe that leaning into deepening our mutual ties is one of the most important ways that we can live here together as UUs. The Pastoral Care Ministry connects with members and regular friends who are dealing with isolation, infirmity, loss, and emergency needs. We call, visit, and connect people with resources. On a limited basis, we may be able to offer rides and other services. Our mission is not to solve problems, but to provide support and connection. We have a policy of confidentiality, so details of our contacts are held within the team. Current members of the pastoral care team are Mary Barden, who, make yourself known, Vernon Bell, Bruce Turner, and myself. So here's how you can help. If you hear of a UUCLV member or friend dealing with an emergency or in need of connection, please let us know. If you would like to connect with us on behalf of yourself or another UUCLV member, please reach out directly to any of us, or you can email us. Our email is uuclvcares@gmail.com, and it's on our website. If you're a member of a Chalice Circle or other small group ministry, thank you. Connecting with other members of your small group is integral to our pastoral care mission. Reach out to the team if you want input or on any concerns about someone in your small group. If you would like to help us with this ministry, we welcome you. We need a few people to make a couple of phone calls each month. You could do this from home on your own time. We also need input in developing policy for appropriate lay-led pastoral care. We could use a few people willing to provide an occasional home or hospital visit or an occasional ride to church. We meet monthly, and we're having a special huddle after today's service. I think we'll either be in the back or in the office, so you're welcome to find us and check us out. Thank you so much.
We will now ground ourselves in the present and honor the thread of humanity that connects us all as living beings. If you are on Zoom and you have someone that you would like held up in today's ritual, please add their name to the chat. As humans striving toward a beloved community, we have the privilege and responsibility to hold on to each other as we live the joys and sorrows of life. We take this sacred time to acknowledge the people that we hold in our hearts, that in sharing, our triumph and joy may be multiplied, and our pain and sorrow may be lessened. We will now partake in a common UU ritual of marking these joys and sorrows by dropping a pebble in water. The pebble signifies a lightness or burden on your heart, and the water represents the love and strength of our community to surround, support, and celebrate you. Today's ritual is silent, but if you have a name to lift, and we'll speak those out after, please write the name in the book. There is also a small bowl of lightly scented eucalyptus oil if you would like to anoint yourself to seal the practice. If you would like to participate, please come forward now. All are welcome. Today we hold up Angie Pence, Dan Tossig, Ann Sustick, Miss A, Madeline, Daniel, Rebecca, Belisario, Kevin Perry, and Patty Jesend. Is there anyone in the chat on Zoom?
From Terry, we have happy third birthday, great nephew Bracken.
Happy birthday indeed. May we hold all that is spoken and all that is kept in the silence of our hearts in deep love and compassion. We gather as a religious community to give each one of us a place where we can together do the work of many. The offering supports the mission of the congregation to be a beacon of love and justice in the desert, and supports local organizations working to make our community a better place for all. Our offering this month is shared with our Camp Scholarship Fund, which can be used for Camp de Benneville Pines. Camp de Benneville Pines offers different camps and UU retreats during all 4 seasons. It can also be used for a voucher with Camp Pride Tree for LGBTQ plus youth from June 27th through July 1st this upcoming summer. This offering is a spiritual practice of generosity that this congregation does as a whole each week. Please join us as a member or friend in this practice. The link to donate your offering if you're on Zoom will be in the chat, and our ushers will pass plates where you can donate. And now, please join me. With gratitude for the abundance in our own lives, we give for the life of this congregation and the benefit of the larger community.
Thank you for your support of this community. Bell Hooks wrote in her essay, Love as the Practice of Freedom, the moment we choose to love, we begin to move against domination, against oppression. The moment we choose to love, we begin to move towards freedom, to act in ways that liberate ourselves and others. All right, now for the young and young at heart, we're going to do gift box. All right, am I on? Okay, come on up. Okay, you know what's in here. Do you want to shake it? Yes. Come here. Come on up. Give it a little shake. Not too hard, not too hard. There you go. Any guesses? Mushrooms? All right. Nora can't guess. Margaret, any guesses? Sounds like blocks. Okay, you want to open it? What is it?
Diamond.
Diamonds. I wish. I wish.
Rocks.
Rocks. What do you guys think about these rocks? Make some observations.
They're diamond blocks.
So there's some quartz, so they're kind of see-through, transparent.
They're very pretty.
They're pretty. So I noticed that both of you started playing with them and rolling them. Why do we do that? What feels good about holding the rocks?
They can feel smooth and they can also feel rough, but they feel very nice with their fingers.
They feel nice. It feels nice to hold them and touch them. Do you guys ever, if you're playing outside or going on a walk, do you guys ever see a pretty rock and pick it up?
Yeah.
No, you don't? Okay. I know I have, and I know we're not supposed to if we're at a nice park, national park, yeah, so put that little caveat in there. But yes, we just feel sometimes like we want to hold rocks. They're so pretty, want to roll them in our hands, and sometimes we even have something called a worry stone, which is a little stone you can hold and rub when you're feeling worried. My mom had one of those. How does it make you feel to just sit and have one in your hand?
Makes me feel calm.
It calms you down? Okay. What do you like about them?
I don't know.
You like playing with it? Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Go ahead and put them back. And the lid. Thank you. Let's see if I can get back up. My mother's family wasn't big on funerals. I didn't even attend my first funeral until I was in college. I lived in the South, and this funeral was my very first introduction to things like fancy funeral homes, visitations, wakes, and funeral casseroles. funeral potatoes. I remember asking what I should wear to the visitation and then to the funeral, because those were two separate events with their own separate dress codes. Prior to this, my only knowledge of funerals had been in my anthropology college classes. When my mother passed, not long after I had attended that first funeral, my mother's family continued their custom of no custom. I can only guess at why my family had such an aversion to funerals. Of course, they're expensive. Funerals can also get messy pretty quickly. Not only are we asked to sometimes be witness to things like physical remains and caskets, which can be a painful reminder of our own mortality, but there's also crying and sniffling noses and loud exclamations and awkward conversations. Also, sometimes people die for reasons that some folks find to be embarrassing. And these reasons can turn into family secrets and skeletons in our closets. My mother, like so many others in our communities, struggled with mental illness and substance use disorder. There had been pressure to keep it a secret. I found this quote about grief, and it seems to have originated from a blogger writing about the loss of her mother. The provenience is a bit mysterious, but I think mysterious fits well here. Jamie Anderson said, "Grief, I've learned, is really just love. It's all the love you want to give but cannot. All that unspent love gathers up in the corners of your eyes, the lump in your throat, and in that hollow part of your chest. Grief is just love with no place to go." Love is messy. Humans are messy. Funerals are messy. Instead of a funeral, my family asked if it would be okay with me if we buried her ashes on my grandparents' property in the woods, which sounds lovely. But it was December and the ground was frozen. Would it be okay, they asked, if I kept her ashes until the ground thawed? So here I was, only one real funeral under my belt, keeping my mother's physical remains in a cardboard box in my closet in my very first apartment. Family secrets had translated into a very real skeleton in the closet, in my closet. We can try to escape the messiness and realities of life and death by skipping over or refusing to talk about them, but we still end up holding the ashes in the end. Or at least someone ends up holding the ashes. It wasn't until years later, while I was helping a good friend plan a funeral for her husband, that I began to grieve the lack of a funeral for my mother. There had been no eulogy or casseroles, no shared stories or photographs. I had no quiet, grassy spot where I could sit by her grave and talk to her. I missed the grave I had never had. The place where she was buried is no doubt beautiful, but it is on property that belongs to someone else now, and it is lost to me. A shady spot in an elusive wood somewhere. Mysterious. With this very weird feeling of jealousy for this man's funeral that I had helped to plan, all those traditions and customs I had studied in my college classes suddenly came back to me. With the death of my most long-loved loved one, my mother, the abstract had become physical. I watched as my friend was enfolded by her friends and family with plenty of Kleenex and food for the next few weeks. It dawned on me why these traditions feel so good to us as human beings. We need time to process that our alive loved one is no longer alive, and space to grieve. We need to work out the simple logistics of a shelter to gather in while we are sharing space, a table upon which to set pictures of our loved one, a microphone in which to share our many stories and memories, a book to sign to show that we were there. Yes, this sad thing happened. Yes, we held hands and told stories and broke bread together. Funerals are rituals, and I began to understand rituals as a device, a vehicle to empower us to hold collective love for one another. Ritual moves us from the oneness of the individual in isolation to a collective experience in which many hands are available for comforting, food making, and child caring. Funerals are just one example of a ritual. We also have weddings, graduations, bar and bat mitzvahs, harvest feasts, communion, the lighting of candles for various reasons, baby showers, and even the somewhat odd Victorian custom of covering mirrors and pictures with cloth. Victorians. Grief is very much a human experience, and at the same time is often too hard to hold alone. Its counterpart, joy, is often too big and flamboyant to hold in isolation. Emil Durkheim, a famous sociologist, said that participants in ritual experience a sense of community, which he called collective effervescence. We need to share our collective effervescence. We need witnesses to our life's biggest events. We need words that are almost like a script to soothe us with its repetition and familiarity. And we need something to do with our hands to keep our brains busy and our nervous systems from sliding into the fight or flight stress of fear and hopelessness. Joseph Campbell, that famous scholar of myth, said, "The function of a ritual, as I understand it, is to give form to human life, not in the way of a mere surface arrangement, but in depth. Rituals involve physical objects. We assign meaning to our internal feelings and thoughts and express them outside of ourselves in the physical world. Our joys and our sorrows become so large that they overwhelm us. And we have to find some kind of physical hack to get them outside of our bodies. We need ways in which we can liberate our feelings so they don't get stuck in our throats and in our stomachs and in our chests. We need objects to handle, music to listen to, and certain words to say, like little magical charms that keep the monsters at bay. We humans sometimes hold prayer beads while we pray to the divine. We light candles in large, fancy cathedrals and in small Wiccan candle spells. We leave food at grave sites or on altars. We dunk our heads in water, drink wine, throw colored powders at each other, build small ceremonial huts, and make long journeys to sacred places. We are not alone, these rituals say. Others have walked this path before, and you do not walk it alone now. The first hominid to leave evidence of a mortuary custom is the anatomically modern human in Israel, approximately 100,000 years ago. Stones that had been painted in red ochre pigment were found near a collection of Homo sapien bones in a cave in Kefsa. Our Neanderthal ancestors may have also buried their dead on purpose in France and in Iraq. Of course, we must be careful to avoid assigning our own thoughts and feelings to the archaeological record, as our ancestors lived very different lives with different cultures and development. However, most scientists use evidence such as multiple skeletons, difficult to reach burial caches, and the presence of plant matter pigments in or around the burial to classify such sites as intentional burials rather than an accidental burial or a burial to prevent the attraction of predators or scavengers. So why did our hominid ancestors begin ritual making, including these particular elements? Why do we continue the practice of using repetition and physical objects to mark an event? While the archaeological record only provides us with information from the artifacts that can survive thousands of years, and therefore we don't entirely know their thoughts and motivations, modern scientists have found that performing collective rituals lowers the stress hormone cortisol in our bodies. The practice of performing them with others increases neurotransmitters in our brains associated with bonding and decreases feelings of anxiety. In one particular group of Sufi Muslims, a shared ritual was shown to even synchronize the heartbeats of the participants. We find repetition to be soothing as it provides predictability in unpredictable times. Ritual might lend us a feeling of control during times of stress and unknown outcomes. We unfurl our prayer rugs, light our candles, eat our special meals, and hold our special objects, as well as the hand of the person sitting next to us. Ritual becomes a means to share resources, share information, and share the reality of safety in numbers, in the present and to future generations throughout time. Ritual helps us keep time, marking our personal milestones in our individual lives and marking the important parts of our year collectively: the harvest, the solstice, the end of winter, and the coming of spring. We need to know when to plant and when to reap. And we need to know where to put our fears and sorrows when our crops turn to dust and winter is coming. Fear, as many of you know, can become a physical entity in our bodies. Stress can make us sick if it lives within us without release. It becomes too big, and we have to do something, even if we don't know what to do. Performing ritual collectively gives us some tools we can use to let the fears and grief escape a bit, like steam rising from a hot cup of tea. It reminds us that we wait out the uncertainty together. Collective meetings and ritual making helps us to keep the time of our bodies and our lives, much like we keep the time of the growing season, the harvest, the long winter with the frozen ground, and the spring thaw. Rituals such as those celebrated together here in this building, with flowers, pebbles, water or fire, out back with our pets during our animal blessing, or in the parking lot for trunk or treat, or underneath a tree during our last religious education class, are a piece of cohesive magic. It's a piece of cultural magic that humans invented to be a tangible physical way for us to hold love collectively, to hold each other in bleak times and in happy times. I would venture to say that deciding to come together in these shared spaces, to hear each other's stories and to hold our ceremonies and sing our songs and break bread together, has the potential to be a practice of collective liberatory love. Liberatory love, I think, is one that releases people from closets, like the one that held my mother's ashes and the one that held the secret of her illness. This kind of love says, much like Fred Rogers did, that I see you for you, and I love you. Ironically, the way that my mother loved me as a young child, and thus taught me to love, made me into someone who has taught her children that they don't have to keep family secrets or hide who they are. The end result of passing on that practice of love is that my children began telling me who they were at a young age, and I listened to them and believed them. Not everyone is thrilled with liberatory love like that, as it is a kind of love that makes people harder to manage and control. Shame is also a tool used in social groups, and shunning is often a death sentence within groups of social animals, including humans. Once someone says that they refuse to hide their mental health challenges when instructed to do so, or whom they love, or their passions, or their neurodivergence, or their struggles, it liberates a chair next to theirs. Come sit with me, it says. You are not alone. And my love is not conditional upon the hiding of your complete self. Humans are messy, and love is messy too, especially love that is freeing. Ritual can be used to control or to liberate. Dr. King, Martin Luther King Jr., spoke of some of the different kinds of love in one of his speeches. He spoke of eros, philia, and agape, and he said that the best of all of them was agape. Agape, he said, is the understanding, creative, redemptive goodwill for all men. Biblical theologians, he continued, and I quote, would say it is the love of God working in the minds of men. It is an overflowing love which seeks nothing in return. And when you come to love on this level, you begin to love men not because they are likable, not because they do things that attract us, but because God loves them. And here, we love the person who does the evil deed while hating the deed that the person does. It is the type of love that stands at the center of the movement that we are trying to carry on in the Southland, agape. And those are the ends of his words. In American culture, romantic love, or eros, is placed at the top of the hierarchy of love. And there's nothing quite so American as making hierarchies out of everything. Both the Bible and Disney movies teach us that eros is the one path to having a family and to happily ever after. And eros, or romantic love, is an amazing kind of love, but it's not the only kind of love. Several of my deepest loves have sprung from what the Greeks called storge, which is familial love, like that shown to me by my mother when I was small, and that which I have for my own children. Or philia, which is the affectionate love that develops in long-lasting friendships, like the love I have for my friend who had lost her husband. There is also ludus, or playful love, which is the fun, flirty love that comes in new relationships and stirs up butterflies in our stomachs. There is pragma, which is enduring, committed love, beyond that of even the deep friendship of philia. This is a lifetime love, which could arise from the relationships between long married people or between lifelong platonic friends. Mania is obsessive love, wrought with jealousy and power imbalance. There's philatia, which is self-love and the ensuing acceptance of oneself. And lastly, there is agape, which is big, universal, unconditional love. It's the love of all humankind without condition of worthiness. If it were up to me, I would add a ninth, which would be specifically community or collective love. Some sources say that this kind of love would fall under philia, or friendship, while others categorize it under storge, or kindred love. Perhaps I should stretch myself and let the collective love within a community be fluid in name, especially since I've already rejected the hierarchical tower of love that's been handed to us via social norms and cultural tradition. And maybe we do have a name for it. I think we call it, much like Dr. King did, beloved community. I will never get that funeral for my mother. Another truth is that these cultural rituals that comfort us often come with a steep asking price, thanks to capitalism, another very American tradition. The mortuary industry is very pricey, as is the wedding industry. I wish I had a headstone to sit by so I could talk to her as if she were there too. The last time I visited the place we had lived together, I saw that her house had been torn down. I felt relieved, as it had been an unhappy house. I took a few stones from the empty lot. They are red and orange, Arkansas stones that are red like Arkansas mud. I thought I might keep them, but I found that the keeping of them makes me feel sad. So I have shared her instead with all of you. And you have helped me to hold her story. And I think I will also craft my own ritual with my partner and my children, who never got a chance to meet my mother. Maybe we'll sit in the desert somewhere and hold those rocks, those stones, and I'll tell funny stories about her, and we'll laugh and maybe cry too. I hope I will feel like I brought a piece of her out here with me into the desert that is now our home. I think that sitting in the warm sun with my family, sharing memories and stories, will be a better goodbye than that first apartment of my own, alone, with the closet and the little cardboard box of ashes that had been left to my stewardship, because it was December and the ground had been frozen. And now if you'll join me for our closing song, There Is a Love. It is not in a hymnal, but we will have the words up here. You can rise in body or spirit.
We will be singing the tune twice, first using me and I as the pronouns, and then the second time through saying us and we.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. We rest in this love.
The UU Side with Love campaign has announced its 30 Days of Love for 2024, which spans from Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is tomorrow, through Valentine's Day. This is a month of spiritual nourishment, political grounding, and shared practices of faith and justice. The theme for this upcoming week is safety and decriminalization. The campaign releases a number of resources weekly that we encourage you to explore, including a personal story, a body practice, a prayer, a blessing, and a grounding practice. It's a way to continue practicing using love and justice as tethers that hold our community together. And you can find all this information just by Googling the UU Side with Love campaign.
And again, the words of bell hooks. I want there to be a place in the world where people can engage in one another's differences in a way that is redemptive, full of hope and possibility. Not this, in order to love you, I must make you something else. That's what domination is all about. That in order to be close to you, I must possess you, remake and recast you. And now for our chalice extinguishing. Nora, come on up.
And now join with me. We release this love and gratitude, and we see just as but not our commitment to being a beacon in the desert. This burns brightly until we gather again.
As always, we have room for 3 announcements at upcoming services. If you want your announcement read, please email Irma by Thursday, and she'll get it to the worship associates, and we'll include all the necessary information. This morning was the first meeting for people involved in our new book study, I Am the Grand Canyon by Stephen Hurst. There will be meetings throughout February and March as well, and I don't think it's too late to join, so if you'd like to, you can contact Joanne, you saw her up here today, to talk more about it. Please note that the Newcomer Chalice Circle is meeting today at noon in the library. We hope to see you there. If you have questions about that, Ariel is your point of contact. And there are 2 interesting community events coming up this week that we're hosting. The Beehive Design Collective is a group of activist artists who are hosting a tour stop here as they travel the country. That's on Tuesday evening, and please join us if you'd like to share in some art and joy. And then we're hosting a free street medic training on Saturday morning at 11 after the food pantry. This first aid class will focus specifically on treating people who may be injured at a protest or while living or working on the street. Both events are open to all, and you can contact me with questions about either. Thank you for being with us today. Next Sunday, you will hear the voices of Mark and Carrie, who will be talking about love is not a transaction. As always, a warm thank you to Margaret and Maggie for keeping us musical, and Rory for excellent storytelling. May you move through your week fueled by the power of love.